Samantha from Just My Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to refill your ice resin plunger. And so this one I've been using for a while, and so you can see that my resin levels are fairly low, my resin levels are fairly low. And so what I need to do is refill it. So what you want to do is you want to unscrew your cap and pop that out of the way, and then push this resin up almost to the top. And that's going to be a little hard for me to show you here. Just push it almost to the top, so hopefully you can see there that I have a gap of about, maybe about 5 centimeters. Then you'll bring over one of your resin parts. Now the important thing is to make sure that you're getting this right. So this is part B and part A, and I can see that because part B is the hardener, and so usually it has a more yellow tint, while the resin is quite clear, so that will be this clear part, which is the resin. Don't mix these two up, otherwise you'll end up with semi-cured resin in your cylinders, because you'll have mixed some resin with the hardener and some hardener with the resin. And so that's very important. If you can't tell the difference between the two, wait for this pot to yellow, which can take a few months, maybe about 3, and then you'll be able to see that it's yellow. But generally you should be able to see if it's yellow or not. Put it against a white backing like that, and you'll instantly be able to see which one's yellow and which one's not. If you're not sure, don't fill it up, you'll mess it up. Okay, so once you've figured out which one's which, take your resin, whichever part it is, and I'm working with part B, and slip it into the hole at the top of your plunger. Then start to squeeze. And once you're squeezing, gently start pulling this lever all the way down. And that will have sucked some of your hardener or resin into your cylinder. So you can see that's now filled up. Now the next one's a little bit harder, so I like to leave the resin part, which is part A, for this part, because it flows a little slower, and so you're not going to make it as much of a mess. So like before, you're going to push this cylinder right up as far as you possibly can until it's basically touching the top here. Then insert your resin just like that and pull down, and this is going to suck your resin out, but it's not going to suck out as much as you did before. And carry on squeezing as much as you can, then stop squeezing, and before you pull it out of the tube, gently pull it out so you form an air bubble, otherwise it can squirt out at you. Then you'll repeat the process. Push this up till as far as you dare, insert your resin, and make sure that your air bubble has risen, so you can see the air bubbles rising up the tube there. Make sure that that's risen before you try squeezing. Then start squeezing and pull down to really squeeze that resin out. And then continue squeezing until you can't see any more coming out. Then let go and gently maneuver that out the way. Okay. And then repeat the process until you have filled up your cylinder or your plunger. Okay, so you can see that the levels are almost equal. Don't worry about getting it completely equal. Now you want to quickly pop that cap back on and slide it closed. Now it's going to be a little goopy after that process, so you want to bring over a wet wipe or a cloth that has a little bit of soap on it or detergent, and go around and wipe the sides of your plunger and just give it a really good clean, because after that you're going to have a little bit of ice resin all over the place, and you don't want to leave that lying around because it's just going to be yucky. And you want to clean this each time, because if you leave that resin lying around, the part B might interact with the part A enough to cure some and make some off sticky, and just won't be good. So just make sure that each time you do this process, and this is probably the 10th time that I've done it on this plunger, just make sure that you clean it every single time you do this process, and it will last you a lot longer. So you'll need to do this process, you will need to buy the part B and part A in the large boxes where they don't come with a plunger, and you'll also need to buy a plunger. So it's a little bit of money up front, probably around $40 or $40 to $50, but once you've done that, this will last you forever, especially if you don't use a lot of resin. And the nice thing about this plunger, which really is nice, is that instead of having to measure out a minimum of like 2 milliliters of resin, 2 mils of resin, you're going to be able to measure out the exact amount that you need. So it's much better, and you will ultimately end up saving more resin than if you just went with the plunger, or if you went with the single bottles, because buying the plunger each time is quite expensive because you don't get much resin in the plunger. I mean, I use up a plunger full about a month, and it's about $16 a plunger, so it's not exactly cheap. So it's much cheaper to buy it in the big bottles, but you want the plunger because it will then measure it out nice and equal for you. So this is a really cool tip, and so I do hope that it was helpful to you, and if it was, please do let me know, as that is always helpful to me, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.